What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another fabulous episode of The Fake Philosophers. I am one of your hosts, Mike, and with me is...
Danny! Hi, everyone.
Yeah, so, just me and Danny today. No Mitch, no Eddie. Mitch is in the mountains somewhere. And
Doing mountain
Eddie's...
shit.
And
I
Eddie's...
think today is in Mali.
Sounds about right.
He is teaching a course in underwater basket weaving.
On Molly, too.
Yeah, on Mali. Yeah, I mean, because if you're going to be in Mali, you might as well be on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When in Rome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's just jump right into the conversations here. As always, I have two grocery gripes this week that happened in the last week. So the first one isn't as serious, but just in my head, I was like, this is actually a philosophical topic, in a sense, as all things are. The guy, it's a express lane gripe. It's not the person didn't have too many items. It was just a guy literally just got into the express lane to cash his lotto scratchers. Because you have to go cash them where you bought them.
Yeah.
And that doesn't sound that bad, but it took a while.
And a lot of scratchers.
He had 3, and so I do know the woman had to go get the cash.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just kind of sitting there irritated. The point of the express lane, as we know, is to go faster. And that act took a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was irritated.
Yeah.
Am I justified in my irritation, Danny?
Nah. You just need to be patient.
Fuck you.
I feel as though you don't really have to be anywhere that bad to where you can't wait for somebody to get their scratchers taken care of.
You're right that I wasn't necessarily in a hurry, but the gripe is it is an express lane, and you're doing something to take a long time.
Okay, so let me ask you this. If you had 3 scratchers that you wanted to change out, did you want to wait behind somebody with a full cart?
Well, I wouldn't want to wait behind somebody with a full cart doing anything.
Exactly.
But if I knew, and to be fair, if maybe it was open so he didn't think he would be an inconvenience to anybody, and maybe I just slipped behind him, that's possible. I kind of thought about that. I was like, does that count? Because I remember you brought it up where it's if you have only if you have 30 items, but they all consist of only 5 different things, and you put the 5 items on, does that not count? Because then it's only 5 items being scanned, and there was that discussion. And so with the scratchers, I was like, how does that work in? So you think that's legit? The scratchers are fine?
Yeah, okay, let me ask you, how long did it take?
Half an hour, Danny.
A half hour?
No, it probably took, and I know 5 minutes doesn't sound like a long time.
But in the express lane, that's a long time.
But it probably took about 5 minutes.
And that's no fault of his, right? You just need to scan the scratchers and give him cash. She has a cash register in that lane, I'm assuming, yes?
Yeah, but for whatever reason, I'm not sure if she had to get a manager or something, but she had to leave her station to get something.
So I'm gonna say that's not on him. This is one of those rare moments in grocery gripes where the store is to blame for whatever policy they have.
Mm-hmm.
If that was the case, if she knew oh, okay, I have to go get a manager or somebody to give me cash, then they could have put him off to the side and said, I can help you real quick.
Okay.
Because he didn't have a transaction they needed to void or anything. They just had the scratchers to scan. That's it. So once you scan those in, a receipt prints, and then you take that receipt and give it to whoever to cash out or whatever. So I'm assuming it's a lot like Coinstar, where you go to Coinstar, it prints out the voucher, you give the voucher to whoever, they cash it out. So yeah, I'm going to say, you're right for feeling annoyed. There was potential there for annoyance, but you can't be annoyed at the guy. He had 3 scratchers that he was just getting cashed out.
Well, now
that shouldn't have taken 5 minutes.
I'm trying to think if maybe that's what she was doing. She was going over to scan them. I don't remember why she walked away.
Yeah, if that was the case, then that's seriously fucked up, because you could just say, oh, you need to take it right over there and scan it.
Yeah. So
You know?
we're writing the rule book.
Yeah.
Are we saying so okay, that's a concession. We can make that concession. If you already scanned your ticket and you have the receipt, that's
Mhm.
okay. In the rule
Yeah.
book, that's okay. But if you
Yeah.
go in with your raw ticket, that's
Just
not
raw
okay.
ticketing it, man.
Just a raw ticket. Well, that's why I said it was a discussion. I was irritated by I wasn't taking a stance. I wanted the discussion. Second grocery gripe, and this one's a classic. It's a classic, but the shamelessness of it like really pissed me off. So I was pulling in. You know, how, like when you come down the aisle, it's a grocery cart gripe. You come down the aisle and there's like a lot of like spots that are taken, but you kind of see the one that's empty, but you can't see in it.
Yeah. You didn't
So I
see
was
the
like,
three
oh,
carts in there?
yeah, literally three. So I do the wide turn to turn into it, and they're like in the middle of the fucking spot. He's like, no, there's two. So not only that, so I had to stop, and so now my car's like halfway out, and there's like people trying to go by, and I'm blocking it. So like I had to awkwardly, like kind of pull out, and then I think I waved one guy by, and then I went and parked in a different spot, and I was like, so not only did you block the spot, I look like an asshole now, who can't drive. Which I mean, I look like an asshole. I get it.
Yeah, it's just something about you. I don't know what it is.
Just something. Strangers like to talk to me, but I look like an asshole. I don't know. But so then as I'm walking to go into the store, I walk by that, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? And I actually did grab one of them. Just like
Yeah.
grabbed one, push it out of the way at least. Because it wasn't my cart, so I pushed that one. But there's 2 or 3 carts. I'm not taking them all back.
You should have. You should have. You'd have been a hero, man. People would have
Maybe, but
applauded you, Mike. They would have applauded you.
I pushed them out of the way so they weren't blocking the spot, and I grabbed one and I kept going. And I looked on the next aisle, and no shit, there were 3 more spots in the next aisle, all like having carts, not like even on the curb, in the spots. Not
Did
even
you
on
notice
the curb.
if like they were like repainting the lines or something?
No,
Because maybe they just put those there to like, don't park here, we're repainting, kind of thing.
no.
No.
They were
All right,
because
so
they
what-
weren't like. I would accept that if they were like lined up, but they weren't lined up. You could tell it was just chaos. It was scattered.
All right, so I'm gonna give blame here to one, the asshole that put the carts in the spot. Probably multiple assholes. They're just like, oh, somebody else put their cart here. I guess I'm gonna do that too. Fuck you. That's stupid. Especially like, where was the cart return? How many spaces away was the cart return, or the cart corral, whatever they call it?
So, I will say, I'll have to give it because it was the cart corral, if you will, was on my side of the lane.
Uh-huh.
So if it was the opposite side of the lane, it would be like 2 extra spots because you have to go around.
Uh-huh.
But it was maybe 5, so give them 7 spaces.
Jesus. Okay.
Yeah, it
So-
wasn't that far.
So yeah, I'm giving blame to the assholes that put the carts there. Because I mean, come on, dude. Like, why?
Yeah.
Like, we all know what we're supposed to do. What the proper thing to do is, what the right thing to do is.
Mhm.
But you just say, "Fuck that! I'm more important." I'm jumping in my car and leaving. And then
Yeah.
second, I'm going to blame the store again. They need to have people, going out and collecting these things.
See, yeah, and I would agree with that to an extent.
I'm going to say 70-30. 70-30. 70 is the
Yeah.
assholes that left the cart there. 30% goes to the store for not having somebody come out and corral
Well, that's the thing.
carts.
Like, I don't know the policy of grocery stores, how often somebody goes out there. Because like it could be a situation hypothetically if like someone went and cleaned the men's room in a restaurant, and then 10 seconds after, you're supposed to check it like once an hour, and then
Yeah.
10 seconds after he cleaned it, somebody went in there and threw up everywhere, and someone went like, hey, like the restaurant should be cleaning this up. Why is this like when they just did it? Granted, that's
Yeah.
different because you would go do it immediately, but because like somebody could have, if it's once an hour at the grocery store, someone could have checked it, and then that happened within like half an hour. I don't know.
Yeah.
But just shitty people. I got mad first because the guy who blocked my spot, and then walking in and seeing all the other spots, I was like, what has happened to our country?
And and here's the thing. So like cart corrals, they're not old. Like they're speaking in the history of grocery stores, they're relatively a new thing, and they were made because people were leaving their carts in parking spots, and they said, okay, fine, here's a designated spot. where you can go and put your cart instead of running it all the way back to the store.
Mhm.
And the
Yeah.
fact that people are still just leaving it in parking spaces where they might be thinking, oh, this is out of the way. It's not. It's always going to be in the way. So I just don't get like the lacks in like social awareness that these
Mhm.
people have to that point. Like I could understand it's like, oh, I just wasn't thinking, but like, come on, man. Like, this is an issue. Like, especially
Yeah.
if you watch our show, this is an
Oh
issue.
well, yeah.
And
Well,
we will find you.
um, and the thing is, like, well, of course, I'm diving too deep into it, but like, if you really think about it, so you're inconveniencing not just other people trying to park or anything. Like, if you put it in one of those like little curbs in front of the cars, and other cars can park, now the kid who has to come around and get the carts
And get it.
can't get to the
Yeah.
cart
Yeah.
without scratching someone's car. You're possibly gonna scratch cars because if you're blocking a spot, like someone might hit it, it might roll away, and just it's common courtesy. It's like when you drop a glass at a restaurant and it breaks. Granted, yeah, you shouldn't pick it up because of shards of glass. But if your thing is like they have someone that'll clean that up, it's like yeah they do, but you're still an asshole.
No, you go and tell somebody, hey, I broke a glass. Can I just get like a towel or something? And can you like send
Yeah,
somebody over to my table?
yeah. The
Yeah.
metaphor being, I've heard that like, oh no, they hire people to come out here and get the carts. That's what they do, and it's like, yeah, but you're still an
Yes.
asshole. You're making it harder.
Like, yeah, you don't. They hire the people to go to the cart corral and get the carts.
Hmm.
They don't hire
And now they have to
people.
make an extra trip.
Now they have to go on some fucking weird scavenger hunt
Hmm.
to get a grocery cart that should have been put back properly. We've gone too long. I'm getting
No,
heated.
I will say this though, as ghetto as the store is, and it brings out like the worst of every kind of demographic. Winco actually is not a problem there. At least the Winco I go to every now and then to buy stuff for the bar. They
Today's
have like
episode brought to you by Winco.
there you go. Uh, they have cart corrals like every like 10 to 15 spots, and I've rarely seen a cart just like hanging out.
Yeah.
So like the people there are clearly cheap, but they put the carts back. So cool.
Yeah. And I'm a big fan of saying that like the putting your cart back is like a litmus test for for society, and it's like
Hmm.
it really shows who the decent people are and who just the assholes are.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
All right, Danny, you have any recent current events?
Well, I did kind of want to touch on something that so this week the president came out and said, hey, if you have student debt, we're canceling $10,000 of it. If you had a Pell Grant, we're canceling $20,000. And I was like, oh, good, finally. I don't have to worry about this. This is a weight off my shoulders. What I wanted to talk about was like the blatant hypocrisy of some of these GOP motherfuckers
Hmm.
who are out here going, oh my God, it's just a free ride. It's just a handout. And it's like a lot of the people that are like saying this shit got PPP loans for their small businesses
Hmm.
and had it all forgiven. Like, I'm not talking about $10,000, $5,000 here and there. I'm talking hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars in some cases. And
Yeah.
these people are now, griping because somebody struggling in the middle class, um, is now getting, that debt taken away.
Yeah.
I don't see it as a handout. I see it as a hand up. How do you feel about that?
I have mixed. I mean, there is one. I didn't believe a lot of those numbers of because people were posting. I think like Ben Shapiro, Marjorie Taylor Greene's business, a couple other people. At first, I didn't believe it because I was like, "Is this just public information that people
It
just
is,
look
yeah.
up loans you've gotten?" I didn't know. That's why
Yeah.
at first I was like, "I don't know if this is real," but then I looked into it and it's real. So there is
Well, I mean,
a clear
how
hypocrisy.
do you think that people buy debt? Like, so
I thought
you
it
were
was
telling
like
me that. I mean, you were telling me that your debt has been, shifted over. That's because somebody is buying that debt from.
no, I get that. Like, so I could see like company to company. Like, for instance, when I was auditioning, agents were could see audition on the websites. Agents could find auditions that I couldn't find because who the fuck am I? And they're an agent. So I always assumed that they could see it the companies, but just regular people looking it up. I didn't know it was a thing. That being said, I will rarely ever defend someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene. But forgiving the PPP, I think, is a different issue, because the PPP was given in a time where companies weren't really making money and they were struggling and they were surviving. So like that was given out. My knowledge of it was that the PPP was given out with the precedent that it would be forgiven as long as you used it correctly. So I remember we looked into it. So there is that, but I will agree there is a hypocrisy that your loan. I understand the hypocrisy. My big gripe with the student loan thing is I think, and you're more of an I can never say that word, an economist than I am. I can understand the discussion of how it will affect like our taxes and going forward. I can understand. I'm ignorant. I'm not going to take one side or the other, but I can see that discussion being had. Because there's jokes now. It's like, oh, you had student loans forgiven. That means now I have student loans I have to pay because blah 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 blah. Yeah. The argument I will not tolerate is the one where people are going, well, I paid off my student loans. It's not fair that you don't have to pay off yours. I will not tolerate that argument.
No, that's a stupid argument.
It's not even a stupid argument. It's just a fucking selfish one.
Yeah.
Because if you apply that logic across the board to other things, society would go nowhere.
Yeah. What you posted? I want to say a comic earlier, or somebody posted a comic in our chat.
Yeah.
Where it was like, I beat cancer. This dude that beat cancer by himself, and then he's like, if somebody invents a cure for cancer, I'm gonna be fucking pissed.
Yeah, and I even saw like someone made a meme where it was like, and this one's kind of dark too, pun intended. Where like if that was the case, it's not fair that all these black people are freed because the people in the past were slaves. That's not fair. Like if you apply this, it is just fucking selfish. I think I told a story on here. I don't think you were on the episode. It was Mitch and Eddie.
So you've said this before.
I said this before. This is a true story. But Eddie found like a list of like things millennials think boomers need to stop saying. And the phrase was, it is what it is.
Yes.
And of course, Mitch took the boomer side because Mitch is a boomer at heart. But I was like, wait. And the example I gave was in college, in the theater program, they did like maybe 10 plays a year. And the grad student actors got, priority in casting. So and there was only 10 of them. Meanwhile, in the undergrad department that I was in, there was like maybe 30 in the program, and then a lot of other people who just audition. So a lot of undergrad actors weren't getting roles and not getting the experience. And as you know, as like a community theater actor, like you get better as an actor the more you do it. You can take all the classes in the world, but you need to get up there and do it. And so I remember during one of my evaluations, I brought up this idea that a lot of people were bringing up about doing like a student-ran club to where they could put on student-run plays, directing students could direct them, and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, as somebody who's like helped run a business, I could be a key holder, and I could be responsible for some of these people. And one of the professors went into her thing like, well, when I was in college, there was like 90 actors in the program, and we only did like 5 plays a year. So like when you guys are complaining about not getting time on stage, blah, blah, blah. And in my head, I was like, why would you want that though for us?
Yeah.
Like why would
that
you,
whole argument, I went through it, so you need to go through it.
Yeah, or like you have it so much better already, so why are you bitching?
Yeah.
And so and again, to repeat myself, I am open for the conversation of how this will affect the country financially. Mm-hmm. I'm not taking a side. That's a conversation to be had. But to say like you need to pay yours because I paid mine is just shitty in my opinion.
Yeah, no, it definitely
it's a shit argument.
And I mean, we're talking about people who just in, I would say, the last 30 to 40 years, debt has, or the tuition, the price of tuition has quadrupled and in some cases quintupled. When, just as an example, when Marjorie Taylor Greene went to college, if she even went to college, I don't fucking know. From the looks of her and the sound of her, I would say she probably didn't.
Fair.
But, let's just say a boomer. Let's just say a boomer in general. When a boomer went to college, tuition was maybe $300, $400.
Yeah. That's the generation where they had a job.
Yeah, and if
So
you had
our
a summer job, you could work off your tuition.
Yeah, it's pretty much our like. So I remember when we were in community college, that's where we met. I would pay off my tuition every semester.
Mm-hmm.
Like before,
So what
like I would register my classes and pay for it. So
Yeah.
it's like they ultimately were paying for our community college in a sense. Like that's what they were doing.
Yeah.
They weren't taking out thousands and thousands of dollars of loans.
Yeah. The
So-
average year of tuition, and this is for a nonprofit school, not a private school, a public university, is about $35,000 a year.
So you're buying a nice car for 4 years every year
Yeah.
for 4 years.
Yeah.
And there are arguments about this because like I would agree with this that like I forgot one of these people brought it up, but they were like instead of it's actually a guy I know online. He's like a super Trumpist, but like he brought this up and I actually thought it was a good point. He said he's like, okay, so student debt is a problem. Why don't we start looking into these colleges and what they're spending it on? Because you have professors. I can say right now, I know a professor in the film department at UNLV who was like quoted as saying like, I won't even step into the classroom for less than $100K. Just because like that, I'm not. It was a film department. So the guy was kind of a B celebrity, maybe even a D. I think I pointed him out to. Don't say the names. Yes.
Okay.
Very nice guy. Very nice guy. And I never heard him say it, but someone told me he said that. And you do have a lot of these, especially in theater departments, these hams who want more money. And so, but I mean, like, if you hear, like, some of these, like, the fucking administrators making 150, 200K.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, okay, maybe there is an issue there. And I'm willing to accept that argument and discuss it to fix the problem going forward.
Yeah.
But my long story short is the whole I did it so you have to do it is a selfish bullshit argument.
Absolutely.
And all the memes I posted are strictly about that.
Yeah. I'm more of the mind, I did it, so I want you to, like, not have to deal with it.
You beat me to it, I was going to say that, yeah.
Yeah. Or, like, what was like, there's no such thing as a perfect system, so we're constantly trying to make it better.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, let's do that. All right. And I think when it comes to colleges and tuition, we need to do that. Like we need to look at the outrageous like I don't know, unless you are fucking loaded, you cannot go to college without loans, without taking out loans.
Yeah.
It is impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And it sucks because like our generation, millennials, were constantly just beat over the head with this idea that we need to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
We need to get a higher education. It was drummed into us. It was Pavlovian that
it's
after
what you
high
did.
school,
It's
you
what you
go
did,
to college.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you do. And that's which is hilarious because my parents didn't go to college. I mean, my I think the best my dad did was an AA degree.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I am the first person in my family to go and graduate from college. So for them to be like, yeah, you need to go to college. You need to go to college. You need to go to college. It's what you do. It's like, it's not what you did. Yeah, but you need to do it. Like, all right.
Yeah.
And now I have I'm $20,000+ in debt. So yeah, no, I am of this mind. It's like, okay, I got my education. And that was another thing as well. It's like you go to college, you'll be set up with a career. Like you'll be good. You'll get a career no matter what. And it's like I had to wait almost 15 years
to get a career in your field. Yeah.
Well, not 15 years, almost 10 years to get a career in my field. And even then, like I'm still at the bottom ladder, the bottom rung of that ladder.
Mm-hmm.
I make enough to survive, which is great, and to have like a little bit extra, but that just goes into my savings, so I can have something for when I retire. So
or if you have a kid, you can provide for them so they don't have to suffer like you did.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Funny how that works.
Yeah.
I'll never hear a parent say, "I want my kid to suffer like I did." I'll never hear a parent say that.
No.
Really
and like it was really funny because my mom, when Biden made his announcement, was the first person to text me and be like, "Hey, here's a link. You should check this out." And I was like, "I'm way ahead of you, but thank you," because she knows like it's a fucked up situation, and like nobody's not going to want relief And for these assholes to be like, no, you don't deserve it, or you shouldn't get that. Fuck
Mhm.
you. Walk a mile in my shoes and then say that.
Yeah, and again, because I do agree, but again, if this is hypothetical, I'm making shit up. If it comes out that this whole thing is going to cost the average taxpayer like $500 extra, I would be like, okay, that's kind of irritating.
Yeah.
Is it? I don't know, but like I understand that part of the argument. But the whole like when they're like they're entitled, blah blah blah. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like, how does it if your taxes aren't going up, how does it hurt you?
Yeah.
If it's not going up, but
I think the biggest thing I think they were talking about was the impact to GDP.
mhm.
And they were just talking about that. And it would be, you know, a slight, like relative terms. Like we're talking a larger amount of money, but in terms of GDP, like what we put out as a nation,
Mhm.
I think it was only something like 9 or 19%. I can't remember. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it was something like that. Which isn't insignificant, but when you take in everything,
Yeah.
it's pennies on the dollar essentially. So
Mhm.
I don't know. Well, you're right. We are going to wait and have to see what this is going to do in the long term for everybody. Um, but as of right now, being crushed by student debt, um, I am all for it.
Willing to take the risk. Yeah. No, I get
I'm
it.
willing to take the risk. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I have to pay $500 on my taxes next year, or
To give up 10,000. Yeah.
to give up for me in my case 20,000,
Great.
I'm okay with that. I am okay with that.
Yeah. 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 This is weird. Just yeah. I mean, I was about to reiterate exactly what I said. I just don't like that part of the argument. The financials I get, but the whole you feel entitled, blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, you're a dick. Anyway, just thought of another topic because you were saying how you took you 15 years to get a job in your field. I have a theater degree.
Yes.
I have to compete. Danny.
Can you hear me?
Now I can.
Okay. Yeah, it kind of glitched out. That's fine.
Yeah.
We'll do it live.
But yeah,
but
the topic
you
I
have
thought of.
circumstances.
Yeah, but the topic I thought of was, it sucks getting a degree when you have to compete with and the majority of people in your field don't have fucking degrees. That was the topic I thought of, and that's a whole other thing for another day. I'll write that down. Anyway, lighter topic. MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
Or have they started calling it the MCM yet?
They haven't, but they need to.
So, we talked a little briefly. Phase 4. We're gonna leave out She-Hulk for now because it's still mid-season. And we don't want to judge it.
Yeah.
So, we got, in no particular order, Black Widow, WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, Loki, What If, Shang-Chi, The Eternals, Spider-Man No Way Home, Hawkeye, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Moon Knight, Thor, and Miss Marvel. It's a lot of shit. In a course of like 2 years. And then future, Black Panther, She-Hulk's going on. The Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special. And are you aware of this Halloween special?
The Halloween special?
Yeah, I looked it up before we started. It's a character called Werewolf by Night.
Yeah, Werewolf by Midnight. Yeah. Yeah.
So they're apparently doing a Hollywood special on Disney Plus, or a Halloween special on Disney Plus, and starring Werewolf by Night.
Awesome. Werewolf by Night was like he's a very obscure character. So in and I'm gonna mansplain this a little bit.
Mansplain me, Daddy.
So in the Marvel comics, you're familiar with the Howling Commandos, right?
Yes, I think so.
That was Captain America's team during World War II. Okay. They kind of shifted the Howling Commandos into like universal monsters. So you had a Frankenstein who had like a minigun. You had Werewolf by Night, and then you had like a mummy character, and they became the Howling Commandos.
Literally Howling Commandos. Okay.
Literally Howling Commandos. Yeah. So that's cool. That's really cool that like it's going to be about Werewolf by Night. That's
I was joking around with a buddy of mine about nothing high budget, but like using our camera we don't use anymore because we do Zoom, and filming like a fake trailer for the Four Bushman. and just seeing what happens if we put it online.
Yeah. Hey, we'll
Might
get
get a cameo.
the Deadpool treatment.
Yeah.
We'll leak a trailer.
Exactly. Yeah. But anyway, so I know me and you are usually the Marvel guys on the podcast, so that's why it's just you and I today. And I was like, all right, let's bring it up. I'm not sure if we did it on the show or if it was just you and I talking. I had a feeling. So I've enjoyed Phase 4 so far. I don't think Marvel puts out a bad product. They don't. Sometimes they're not great, but they're never bad. But it's getting a lot of hate online for like leading nowhere and like not really a cohesive group of movies and TV shows. Kind of like the previous ones, all were kind of leading in the same direction.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are kind of pissed off about that. A lot of people just don't like the way it's going. Like I said, I enjoy it, but my big issue, and you're the one to respond. I forgot if I said this on the show or if we just talked about it. I had a feeling that the multiverse shit was going to get too convoluted and not make sense. We could argue whether or not it's convoluted, but they're literally not making sense with their multiverse. They're breaking their own rules. I went back and watched episode of Loki 1 to make sure I got the quote right. The quote when he says, wait, like you're talking about timelines, that's what the Avengers did. And the guy's like, the Avengers were supposed to do it. That is, I think, at least in the top 10, if not the dumbest fucking lines ever spoken in the MCU, because that literally does not make any sense whatsoever in the context of that show. Because, well, I've been talking. You would respond, Danny, or I can sit here and just talk all day.
So about Phase 4.
Just Phase 4, your thoughts. You can respond to what I said.
So when it comes to Phase 4, I think we're on the same page. Like, I see it as kind of directionless. They're just kind of putting properties out there. And granted, none of them are bad. Like you said, Marvel doesn't put out a bad product. But yeah, it is kind of disorganized is a word, I guess I would throw out. But I think this is kind of like, this is like Marvel off season right now. And I think when we get into Phase 5, we're going to kind of start seeing that direction, especially because we're entering like the Kang saga. In fact, like the next Avengers movies are going to have to do with Kang and the Secret Invasion. So, yeah, we're going to have to like see where it goes. I know Kang's already been introduced in Loki, but we're going to see him kind of reach his ultimate Kanghood in the next Ant-Man movie. So,
and that's yeah. I think you hit it. I meant to say it and I didn't, but you kind of alluded to it. I feel like Phase 1 to 3 was the Infinity Saga. I feel like they called it something already, the Multiverse Saga or the Kang Saga. I feel like will be 5, maybe 6, 7, and Phase 4 is just kind of like intermission.
Yeah, Phase 4 is letting us digest our food from one meal to the next,
while we're watching them starting to cook the next meal.
Yeah,
I feel like
we're
all
watching
these
them cook
will
the next meal.
Yeah, all these will come together eventually.
Yeah.
Go on.
And I was just gonna say, I think like movies like Thor 4, it being the only original one to have a fourth movie. I think it's just kind of like saying, okay, let's see what we can do with it. If it's worth pursuing, we'll pursue it. That kind of thing. I think what Marvel kind of needs to start focusing on is integrating their show properties into the larger MCU.
Which they're going to do in Phase 5. Yeah, they're going to do that in Phase 5.
Yeah, so, I mean, having Moon Knight show up in a movie would be fucking awesome.
I was reading before we started, because I was kind of reading, that was the original plan.
Yeah.
Was he was going to do a standalone show with, like, no interference, and then he was going to start popping up in the movies.
That'd be great. That would honestly be great. Like, I would love to see him team up with Blade. Because he was prominent in She-Hulk, but they're having, I think, Daredevil show up in She-Hulk now.
I haven't seen the latest episode, so I hope that wasn't a spoiler.
Okay.
But I heard he was showing
no,
up. No,
because he was in the trailer.
Yeah,
he was in the trailer, and he's a lawyer, so it makes sense.
Perfect sense.
So yeah, I know Miss Marvel's going to show up in the next Captain Marvel movie.
Because that came together because Rambo was in WandaVision too, where she got her powers. That they're all coming together in one. Yeah.
And then There was let's see, Renner showed up and they did the Hawkeye thing, which was cool.
I think I really liked that one.
I did too because
yeah,
because they brought in the old Marvel shows with
Mhm.
D'Onofrio. Bringing him in kind of put that link in. And I
then
want
not
to say,
to
like,
mention, it was nice to see just a boots on the ground hero again,
yes,
without all this
yes.
magic and shit. Just a boots on the
Yeah.
ground fighting fist to fist.
Not a superhero, just a hero.
Yeah, well, that's what. So I know Falcon and Winter Soldier got a lot of shit for being. I think I heard a lot of people say, I forgot the order, but with WandaVision and Loki being so cosmic and like crazy,
Yeah.
that Falcon and Winter Soldier was like whatever, and I was like, no, like I enjoy that
Yeah.
shit, like the basic
It's
shit.
boots on the ground. It's friendly neighborhood stuff.
And I feel like it was kind of a break. Like you could only eat so much steak before you just want like a salad or something. Like there was so much like WandaVision, magic, Loki, multiverse bullshit. Like there's so much to think about. This is nice. It's just a straightforward story, fist on fist action. Like, don't put that in your Google. Yeah. Anyway, I interrupted your what you were saying though about.
I don't even know what I was going to say anymore.
Yeah.
I was just kind of going on a tangent.
Yeah, but so. Yeah, it was. I remember we had talked about having an episode where we just talk about how time travel movies are hard, right?
Oh yeah, we need to do that. We can fucking do it now, dude. Like I'm down. Like I'm ready.
Maybe if it flows that way, we can. Because I just wanted to get like sometimes you just need to say something to get it off your chest before you blow your head off. The time travel and the multiverse and this shit, it really doesn't make sense. And it bothers me because I'm like, our friend Derek said, he's like, I don't care. I just like to be entertained. I don't give a shit about all that stuff. I do. Yeah. Like, I catch that shit and it bothers me. The line, the Avengers were supposed to do that, is stupid for multiple reasons. One, they created a timeline. In that movie, I'm not sure if you read the One Nerdbot article I wrote. I break it down. They created a timeline. When Thanos goes forward in time to fight them, that split the timeline because now there's an existence without him.
Yeah.
So that split the timeline. I said, I think we had either Mike or Derek on and we talked about it, and I said the Loki series absolutely 100% needs to end.
Wait.
What?
You're wrong. And I don't know why I didn't think about this.
What?
Because when Cap goes back in time,
yeah,
he puts the stone back. So
yeah,
Star-Lord
Thanos isn't there.
He would have, because everything that happened.
No, you're wrong.
No.
So Cap goes back. I remember I wrote this out. Cap goes back probably right after Thanos dips out, and puts the stone back. So Star-Lord gets the stone.
Mm-hmm.
He just never. The Guardians never get together because then Thanos isn't there to go for it.
But if he puts it back at the exact moment it's stolen, Quill wakes back up. And Nebula's not there, so he doesn't. They don't. There's no link between the Nebulas anymore. So
it's
then Thanos doesn't come.
It's too late. He already. Oh wait, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Maybe you're right. The way I envisioned it was that Cap probably, to be safe, waited. But you might be right. Okay, that aside, because that's the discussion that we'll start yelling at each other about. The semantics.
What needs to happen is somebody needs to write a movie where they go into Cap fixing the timelines.
I started writing that script for fun. No, actually, no, you are wrong. I'm sorry, you are wrong. Because for that to happen, so when she says, what's her name, says they need to be put back at the exact moment they were taken.
Yes.
Doesn't work. Because for like the Hulk, when he takes the time stone from her, to put it back exactly at the time, Cap would have to be sitting there waiting.
Yep.
And like throw it in, which he's not going to get it on time. I think in my head it was like once Banner teleports away back to the future, he like knocks on the door because he has it on him.
Uh-huh.
And so then he returns it. But it's still, so there's two stones in a place at the same time, technically. Mm-hmm. So in the case of the Power Stone, right? That's the one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Brody and Nebula come out. They're getting ready to go. I'm assuming Cap's already there.
Yeah.
He's going to be hiding or something, but Cap's already there. Remember, Nebula gets connected
Yeah.
as Rhodey dips.
Yeah.
So even if Cap was there and put it back, she's still stuck. And Thanos still comes.
There's
and Thanos
nothing
dips.
stopping him from helping her get back to her timeline.
Well, he does help her get back to her timeline. Oh, you mean Cap? Or
yeah, I'm talking about Cap. He sees that happen.
Then he's creating new timelines. He's fucking more things up.
No, he's repairing the timeline. If Nebula's not there to make the connection, Thanos doesn't come to Morag.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, but he doesn't have an extra device. No, she has hers. If he brought the extra Pym particles, you might have it. You might have an argument.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. We don't know because nobody's made the movie yet. Marvel, get off your ass.
Okay, I'll make that. We'll spend a whole episode just dissecting whether or not that made sense. Either way. So my argument is that split the timeline when Thanos dips out. But we'll go into that later. So I remember I was talking to probably you about it, and somebody else. The Loki series. If that series, the last episode in that series, the last scene, 100% has to be Cap grabbing Loki and going back to that moment.
Yeah.
But otherwise, they created a new timeline.
Yes.
So that's what I mean. Like, so when Loki, in that show, when it says they were supposed to do that, there are so many holes where they did create new timelines. So that doesn't make sense.
So, given the end of season 1 of Loki, it doesn't look like things are headed to a good place.
Yeah.
Because we start seeing Kang start taking over.
You start seeing the webs. Yeah.
So it would make sense that Loki would be like, yeah, no, shit here sucks, and it's about to get fucked up even worse.
And then he goes back.
I'll come back with you. Yeah, he comes back with Cap willingly. It's like, yeah, anything to fix this mess.
That's fair. But that's why my point is, if they don't do that, and everyone I talk to says there's no way they're going to do that. But in my, it's like if they don't do that, it kind of undermines the whole like the Avengers were supposed to do that because it clearly fucked up.
Yeah.
And there's other things too about like the way Loki went down. Like I don't know how to explain it, and we could talk about it in the time travel episode that we talk about. But like, unless it's established, like, did you see the Tomorrow War?
I haven't, just because I'm not really interested.
It's okay. It's fun, but they establish. They said it's like they're two time machines. It's like a raft in a river that they're both put in the river, so you can only travel 30 years forward or 30 years back. Okay. And they're linked like that. So they establish like you can't just jump around anywhere you want. They're linked, and it's going forward, and that's it. So if you establish something like that, it kind of makes the link make more sense. But like fuck it, we'll go into. We have 20 minutes probably. We'll talk. Let's talk about time travel.
Yeah.
You talk about like X-Men. Days of Future Past. Like, to me, that was stupid. Like, was she literally sitting there for like a week? Was that how that time travel thing worked? Because to me, I was like, that's dumb. It seemed like in the past he was there for like a weeks, and in the future it was like a day.
Yeah.
So, but in my head, it's like if that's the case, as soon as she put him in the past, it would. Well, no, because he connects with. It's just fucking sloppy. That's my point. Like, even in my head, trying to find the logic, I'm just jumping all over the place.
No, I mean, the one show that got kind of time travel right, and we've talked about this, was Outlander.
Yeah. I think wasn't there kind of like the raft thing too? It was kind of linked, and you were stuck there. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Because in that case, if they established that, yeah.
So I think it's not cinematic to watch somebody like feeding Shadowcat as she's doing this whatever she's doing to Logan.
No,
it's like, oh man.
Shit, I think about like we will do another episode where we fully dive into it, but like if you watch, in all honesty, if you watch Back to the Future in its entirety, does not get time travel right, and we can talk about that at a
No,
different time.
no.
They fuck up.
Yeah,
But anyway, back to the MCU. I guess we're jumping off, but
yeah,
yeah, I just feel like going forward with this multiverse shit. Like I forgot if I said this when we talked about Spider-Man. Like the more I think about the Spider-Man dilemma with the multiverse, the little it makes sense to me. And I get that movie. It was just a fan service thing. I tried to
Yeah.
spell it fucked up, so now more review came. But the more I watch it, I'm like, they really just gloss over that.
yeah.
Why that spell would invite people from other universes. They kind of just glossed over it. And then there's things in Doctor Strange where I was like, huh. But kind of a fun thing. Your thoughts? A theory, off of time travel now in multiverse. A theory is Doctor Strange said, no one on Earth will know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And so he did the spell. Does that mean fucking the Guardians will know who he is? And people
And
offer
Nick
it.
Fury.
And Fury. Like, the theory was that's how Spider-Man gets pulled back into the fold.
And technically, Wanda would know because Wanda was in her hex, which protects her from magic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it was just an interesting thought.
Yeah.
Or is it universe-wide?
No, I mean he says nobody on Earth because that's where most of his problems are.
Fair.
So
And the theory was he
yeah.
did it on purpose, too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you read the Ned theory?
That Ned, I've read a couple of them.
That Ned will
One
be the
that's-
Hobgoblin?
The Hobgoblin, yeah, that's the one I know.
The theory was that piece of Venom that got left behind, which doesn't make sense, but got left behind, will eventually grab Peter, get all of Peter's memories, and then when Peter rejects it, it takes Ned, and then implants the memories into Ned, and Ned fucking loses his mind that his best friend would betray him like that.
Oh,
And then that's what leads to, I'm not sure if he'd be Venom, but that what leads him to be a villain.
interesting. Venom would be cool, but
Overweight Venom.
hey, come on, he's doing his best.
That's true. And also, I read something, not substantiated, but a cool thought. There's a theory that in Secret Wars,
Secret Invasion,
will-
or they
Secret
might be doing
Invasion?
Secret War.
no, Secret War is the Avengers movie. Secret Invasion's the show. Right?
Yes.
Invasion is the
Yes.
Skrulls. Secret Wars is multiverse shit, right?
Yeah. Oh, dude, that's gonna be fucking nuts.
That's the second Avengers movie, right?
I think you're right.
There's
Yeah.
the Kang Conquest, and then yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
the theory is that Toby and Andrew are coming back, and there's going to be a scene where you see, if I remember correctly, it would be Toby and Andrew as Spider-Man fighting Tom Holland, who is Venom, in like another
Interesting.
universe. It was
Yeah.
not substantiated. It was just a theory or claim or something.
Well, and I'm waiting for a Miles Morales, a Miguel Herrera, because those would be dope. I would like to see that. But yeah, I'm like we'll now get X-Men. We'll now get Fantastic Four.
Do you think they'll still they'll cast John Krasinski?
I don't see why they wouldn't.
I'm with you, but that's what.
That was a nice little tease.
I forgot who. I forgot someone. It was Sam Raimi or what's his name, Ash, who said that like they think that was just a one-off to please the fans because the fans have talked about it for years. They want John Krasinski to play him.
Yeah. Dude, the only thing that would, I think, turn Krasinski off about doing a role in the MCU would be working with Disney and Marvel. I've heard they're not fun
Yeah.
to work with.
No.
But, like, he doesn't have the office anymore. So there's, like, he's open to do work. I don't see why he wouldn't do it.
Yeah,
Especially if they got Emily Blunt to play Susan Storm.
I think I'm not speaking for him, but I think a lot of people, because this is one thing actually. Moon Knight, Oscar Isaac, that's his name, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. When I was reading about it before we started recording, one thing that he's liked about Moon Knight was that he's up to play it again, but it was a one project contract.
Yeah.
Whereas most of the time, if you're getting into Marvel, you have to sign like a 5-6 movie deal.
Yeah.
And I've heard that some actors, that's why they don't want to be heroes. That's why, like,
Yeah.
someone like, I'm blanking on names. What's his name in Thor, the God Killer?
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale. I blanked on his name. Christian Bale probably was like, okay, I'll do it because it was a one movie contract. He wasn't stuck in it, and he could just come and go. And I think that's why a lot of people are villains, and some people I've heard don't want to be heroes because if you're a hero, you're locked in for like 4 or 5 movies, and you kind of get constrained. I'm not sure if that's Krasinski or not, but anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, minimum, Krasinski's probably going to be locked into maybe 5 to 7, including cameos. Including cameos, because they do like cameos are included in that contract.
Well, that's I think it was like Samuel Jackson. It was like he signed like a 10-movie deal, but in reality, he was like in movies for 5 seconds.
Yeah, and fine, pay me my money, and I'll shoot 5 seconds of material for you.
Yeah, and that's where like we'll get at that in a second. But one thing I wanted to ask you about. So Moon Knight and the Egyptian god shit.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little wary about it.
Yeah.
Until I kind of like what they did in Thor. Because I had a lot of issues with Thor, but I kind of liked they almost established gods as being
pantheons.
Yeah, gods as being canon.
Yeah.
And so now like if you're like, well, in Moon Knight there's an Egyptian god, so how does that? It's like, well, he was probably there.
Yeah.
He was chilling.
And I'm waiting for somebody to do a deep dive on that scene to be like, oh, there they are. They're right over there in the corner.
Mm-hmm. Someone said there's a goddess who is the goddess of like the Wakandans, and she was apparently like in the row in front of.
It was Bast. Mm-hmm. She was sitting literally right below Jane.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I did hear what you're talking about though. I did hear that people have like paused the shit out of that scene, like in the pirated ones, and just trying to find all the cameos in there.
Yeah,
and I do like when he says something about that like the carpenter god. I was like, oh, Jesus is canon. Yeah. No, it's kind of cool they did that. I don't really give a shit about the Hercules thing at the end. I was kind of like, all right.
Well, Hercules was an Avenger, so
everyone was a fucking Avenger at some point.
Yeah, everybody. Yeah, if you're in a Marvel comic book, chances are you're an Avenger at one point.
Yeah. What I was going to ask you, because even though like we're not professional actors, we worked, quote unquote, worked in the field. What I was about to go off on one of these. So Samuel L. Jackson recently, sometime in the last few months, did an interview where they pretty much said like, you've never gotten nominated for an Oscar, or he might have been nominated, but you never won an Oscar. Is that something you want to do before the end of your career? And what he said was something like, I really don't give a shit about Oscars. I will play Nick Fury and Mace Windu for the rest of my life and be happy.
Yeah.
And granted, he's a seasoned actor, he's older, and then you have Chris Hemsworth, who has said, if you keep coming up with cool Thor ideas, I will play him for the rest of my life. If you want me, if you'll have me, I'll be there. And then you have Tom Holland, who I forgot how old he is, but I remember reading a quote where he said something like, if I'm still Spider-Man by the time I'm 30, I would have considered my career to be a failure, or something like that. Don't quote me. Yeah. And in my head, I was talking with my lady about this in regards to shows. Because a show she watches, like a lead character who's there for like, do you ever watch Heartland? It's like a Canadian horse show. Anyway, she watches it, and like the main romantic lead, the protagonist, he's on it for like it's one of those shows. It's like Grey's Anatomy. It's like in its 15th season or some shit. Mm-hmm. And around like season 13, spoilers if you never watched Heartland, he gets killed. The character gets killed. And I was like, huh. And I read about it, and the guy was pretty much like, yeah, I was getting kind of tired of it. I want to explore other options. Yeah. And he's doing a podcast now or something. And so what I was going to ask you, all this long story short, are you pro, I will work if I could work, like I will work, or are you pro, I want to do all the things I can do? Or could you think, I think you could do both.
Yeah. It honestly, it depends on, who I'm working with, who I'm working for, and the quality of the project. So I would take, I think, Hemsworth's stand, where it's like, if you come up with good ideas that are worth making a movie out of, yeah, I'll do it. Fuck yeah.
I'm generally the same way.
But like, if you just like, and the thing about like Tom Holland doing Spider-Man is like, Spider-Man's always been a young character.
Yeah, I get that.
And so like, I feel like for yeah, for him to do Spider-Man as a 30-year-old
Yeah,
would kind of be a problem. But at the
I
end of the day,
guess.
I don't consider Tom Holland a great actor.
Hmm.
Like he's good and he's got a lot of talent, but yeah, I mean, I, I've seen some of his other stuff, and a lot of it is not so great.
Hmm.
But again, it all depends on you know the the quality of the script and all that. Because there was one project he did which was fantastic, which I think is called The Devil All the Time.
I saw that headline or something, but I never watched it. Yeah.
It was such a great flick. Um, but I saw Uncharted, and
Yeah.
it wasn't great.
It was a movie.
It
Well,
was
I
a movie.
think in my head, because I was talking to the lady about the guy in the show, and so we brought some of this stuff up. Like in my head, I'm kind of like, yeah, the Chris Hemsworth approach. But what bothered me about Tom Holland saying that, I get if he's like, if I can't play Spider-Man forever. I get like I can't play it forever
Yeah,
because I'm gonna get older. But his whole the concept was, if I'm still doing this role, my career was not a success because I'm still doing the same role.
yeah,
And in my head, I get it. He's A-list now, so he can be selective. But like, if I made it as an actor, and I had like a fucking permanent job, not a permanent job, but like a pretty steady, safe acting job,
yeah,
I'm keeping that shit as long as I can.
yeah,
Because like, especially if it's movies, because then you have time to do other projects. But like the guy in the show, he wasn't an A-lister. He's like some Canadian actor. Like, okay, ask them to send my character on vacation. In the show, he's a vet, so like, he got sent to Africa. Like, he went to Africa to save wild boar or something for a few months. So that they have like 10 episodes without him. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So he can go do. That's what, if you look at a lot of these TV series, when a character's off away somewhere for a while, they're doing a movie
yeah,
in real life. But so yeah, I just that was the whole philosophy of like some of these guys who were like, I'm not going to do this role forever. Where in my head, it's like your acting job like can go like that.
yeah,
Like if you get into a car accident and it fucks your face up, that's messed up. But like, you're an actor, your career's
yeah,
over. So that's where like I get kind of irritated by the Tom Holland approach, where it's like, if I'm still doing this role, my career has not been a success, and it's like, well, or you're like, if I was him, I'd be like, obviously I can't be Spider-Man, but I'll play Peter Parker till I die. In this
yeah,
continuity. In this continuity.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, no, yeah, I mean that's kind of like a biting the hand that feeds you kind of bit. It's like, um, you know, you nobody knew who Tom Holland was until he put on the tights.
Yeah.
Um, so it's like, dude, like you kind of. I'm not going to say you owe Marvel because you've given them three solid movies, um, but to say something like that is kind of douchey.
Yeah.
Um,
And I just
but
think,
yeah,
like, career-wise, and I like that the stigma's starting to get killed at, like, doing... There was, like, a stigma if you get stuck in superhero movies, like, are you a really good actor? And that's starting to break now. Because even with Idris Elba is a prime example. Can you hear me still?
yeah, I guess so.
All right, it's my headset. My headset's being fucking weird. Talk?
Blah 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 blah.
I'm hearing you in one ear, that's fine. Um, Idris Elba, I remember I believe this is the reason why he was killed in Infinity War, as Heimdall, was I think he said he had to like go back to reshoot something in Thor 2 or something. I forgot exactly what, or Ragnarok. And he was like, I just got off the set of playing Nelson Mandela, and I have to go reshoot something playing a fake comic book character. And he's like, what the fuck, what am I doing? And that's, I believe, why he was killed in Infinity War. That's what I believe, I'm not sure. But I remember him being quoted as saying, like, he was ashamed that he had to go back to shoot a comic book movie or reshoot after playing Nelson Mandela. But then fast forward,
Yeah, and then he's Heimdall again in Valhalla. Yeah,
and he said he's willing to play it again.
yeah. Here's my thing, bro. It's like, hey, newsflash, you're not really Nelson Mandela either, bro.
Yeah.
They're both fantasy. Like, yeah, I get it that one is like this is kind of an honor to play,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's like that doesn't do anything different for your career than playing Heimdall does.
Yeah, I think it's like one of those things, like, hypothetically, if you're, actually, that would be, I'd want to say that. If you're a banker, I'll say, okay, you're a teacher, and you're making, I'm just making a number up, $60,000-$70,000 a year. Yeah, I know. The point, listen,
Okay.
I'm making a, I know. The point I was gonna make though is like, let's say you're a teacher, and you're making 50 a year, 50K a year,
Okay.
and then your buddy is a bartender, who makes around the same, probably more, but around the same. The teacher is respected more, regardless of the money.
Yeah.
Whereas the bartender, it's like, oh, you're a fucking bartender, get a real job. And I think that's the way some of these people look at movies is the comic book movie is the bartender and the biopic is the teacher. It's
Yeah.
more honorable, it's more pristine. And I think that's starting to crack because, like I said, he came back to Marvel and he said that that whole scene in Valhalla was almost setting a precedent to where they might be able to come back from the dead.
Yeah.
And so, like, look at him just twist around on it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm of the mind that a gig is a gig is a gig is a gig. If you
That's
can
how I
get
would
work,
be, yeah.
take the fucking work, man. Like,
Yeah.
especially like you don't have to audition because you've already like this is just a job that you don't have to audition for. Get the fuck over yourself and go get that paycheck, dude. Like, what the
Yeah.
fuck are you thinking? Who cares?
Yeah, like
Yeah,
I
it's
just
not going to
can't,
get
like-
you an Oscar, but it's going to get you paid.
It's gonna get you paid. It's gonna get you a list. Like, yeah, I just can't fathom. The guy in the show was more so, but Tom Holland kind of the same. Like, like I said, if I were, especially as an older actor, if I had a role given to me and they're like, we want you to play this role over 10 movies, I'm like, cool.
Yeah,
Technically,
I'm in.
I don't have to take any more work because I'm good.
You're good. Yeah.
Or at a TV show, we want you to be a series regular until we don't like you. I'd be like, all right, cool. Like, I'll take it. So for some of these people just be like walking away from it, I'm like, man. Or like walking away from roles.
Now, I can understand how it can be, kind of, what's the word I'm looking for here? Entrapping,
Mhm.
to where you feel like you can't do anything else. But I'm also of the mind, it's like, why would you want to?
Mhm.
You get to work with a slew of great actors. And, I'm the kind of guy who, always learns or tries to learn. Every time I'm, doing something either new or with somebody different. So, like, to be on set with, like, Robert Downey Jr. every day, imagine what you could learn from the guy.
Yeah.
Just by watching him and watching how he does his how he does his craft. Or, Hemsworth. Like, I could learn so much from Hemsworth, and not just acting. I can learn, how to take care of myself because fuck that guy.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, there's always something other than the job that you can do while you're
Mhm.
at your job.
Yeah.
So for him to be like, "Oh, I'm locked in here and I'm trapped and I can't do anything else," like, bro, there's so much you can do.
And
Learn how to
people have it worse
direct.
than you.
Learn,
Yeah.
yeah, you can learn how to like. What is the boom mic guy like? How much goes into that? Learn, talk, explore. Like you have opportunities while you're locked into these roles to explore different avenues of the industry.
Yeah. And it's not like these movies are shot years apart, so it's not like you can't take on other projects or do other
Yeah.
things. And one thing which is it's a little different, but I, as kind of a nerd, would be digging it. So Christopher Reeves. There's been like 3 or 4 different, if you're talking about shows and movies, like 3 or 4 different Supermans, probably more than that, since Christopher Reeve played him in like the 80s, right?
Yes.
And who do you think of when you say Superman?
Christopher Reeve.
Christopher Reeve's first name that you think of. Maybe younger kids not so much, but even younger kids probably. So now you think they're gonna recast? They're gonna start recasting, but like Wolverine, Hugh Jackman.
It's always Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, synonymous.
It's never not going to be Hugh Jackman.
Yeah. Professor X. Synonymous.
It was always and only supposed to be Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, and he was perfect in it. But like, my point is, like, as a nerd, I would love to have my name synonymous with one of these motherfucking characters.
Yes.
Like when they have to eventually recast Iron Man, this generation is gonna fucking be pissed.
Oh yeah,
Because
Yeah.
Robert Downey, that's Iron Man.
that's Iron Man. Yeah, it's the Godfather,
Yeah.
man.
And so that's why like some of the superhero guys were like, I don't want to do this forever. I'm like, dude, like you are literally cementing your name into
in,
history.
in movie history. Yeah.
Yeah, because people are going to remember you as the guy
I mean,
who played them.
even if it flops, like Miles Teller, he is never going to live Fantastic Four down.
He is going to be immortalized.
Yeah.
Oh, that fucking
I feel
movie.
bad for him because he's solid. Like he's a great actor.
He's a great actor.
He just made one bad choice, man.
That movie. Going off topic. That movie. I don't understand. I think you were on Jack of All Nerds when I went on the show and we talked and we briefly mentioned this. I heard so many people trashing that movie so hard, and I hadn't seen it, and then I finally watched it, and I was like, it cannot be that bad. And I watched it, and I was like, oh.
It's worse. It's worse.
And with
So
the cast they had, I was like, how did they mess this up so bad? I was like, how did they do that? I was confused, and I was sad.
Yeah, no, it was, yeah, it was, it was not good.
Okay, so here's back to the MCU. Question to you before we
Yeah.
get out.
All right,
So I might have had this conversation with you already. If I have, I apologize.
you said this.
I said this before. It's a true story. We did talk about this. The guy who played the original Mr. Fantastic, his name, I always forget it.
Ian Grefford.
Ian. There you go. I read an article that even though Krasinski was really cool in that cameo, that the guy argued that Ian should have come back and played it.
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
Honestly, that would have been cool. Like, because it didn't need to be John Krasinski. That was, again, I
Yeah.
think, just fan service.
Yeah.
I think it would have gotten the same reaction if Ian Grefford came back and played the role.
Mm-hmm.
But then that kind of puts into, why does Captain America look like my universe's Johnny Storm? This is
That was-
weird. Yeah.
No, yeah, 'cause the guy made the argument, and this is where at first I was like, I don't know, but he made the argument that, like, in the age of character rehabilitation,
Mhm.
kind of like Andrew Garfield, they brought him in, and now
Yeah.
everyone's like, they should have made another one. With those movies, like, they weren't very popular, but I feel like everyone liked the cast, and, you know, they had Black Bolt up there, even though the Inhumans was a shit show. So that was kind of cool. You know what I mean? They kind of
Yeah.
gave him credit. So I think if they brought Ian Greffeld in, that would have been kind of a cool, just like throwback to, all right, like he's here. That's cool.
You know what? I will say this about those Fantastic Four movies: they weren't as bad as the most recent one.
No,
They were very entertaining. They were fun.
I enjoyed it.
They were just not MCU movies.
No, of course. But I think it just would have been cool to see him because they kind of like they brought in Patrick Stewart, they brought in Black Bolt. I think the guy who made the article was making the argument that if they brought him in, it's just another like arm out reaching into different movies for the multiverse, and
Yeah.
it would have been cool just to see that. Even if later they cast somebody else, because they're not going to cast him, obviously. It would have been cool just to link that movie as well.
I'm kind of curious if they considered Ian Grefford first, and like they reached out and he was like, "No."
I read the wiki.
He hasn't been in anything since.
What has he been? I don't remember anything he's been in.
He was in King Arthur.
That's the last thing I can think, and that was like fucking when we were in high school.
Yeah. Was he in Love Actually too? I think he was in Love Actually.
Probably. He's British. He was in there somewhere.
I get him and Dominic West confused a lot. They look very similar. Because I want to say like he was in The Wire, but no, that was Dominic West.
He does have one of those faces. He looks like multiple people.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he was. I think that was kind of stupid for him to if they did offer it to him to pass it up, and they're like, "Fuck it, let's get Krasinski."
I don't think they offered him. I think they just went to Krasinski.
I mean, all right,
I think
they should have
I'm not
offered it.
sure.
I don't know.
Awesome.
Next time
Awesome.
I see Ian Grefford, I'll ask him.
Yeah. Get the real scoop.
Get the-
All right, we've been blabbing for a while. Any last thoughts on the MCU, Danny?
No, I'm just really excited to see what they do in Phase 5 and try to to weave all of these stories back together now that they've been kind of unraveled.
Yeah. I agree.
Which, I mean, kind of makes sense considering that the multiverses are now not, they've been unraveled. So now we're getting all of these disjointed, disorganized stories I'm curious to see how they bring everything back to a point.
Yeah, me too. And then we'll probably talk again once the Phase 4 is over and see how we feel about it then. Because we still got Black
Yep.
Panther, She-Hulk, the Werewolf by Night Halloween special, and the Guardians Christmas special.
Yep.
Which the Guardians Christmas special apparently takes place between Thor 3 and Guardians 3. Or Thor 4, excuse me, and Guardians 4.
Okay.
3. You fucking don't say. But, yeah, I thought it was just going to be like a silly fourth wall breaking Christmas special, but apparently it's going to be a narrative. So, cool.
Interesting.
Yeah. All right, that's it.
All right, cool.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.